Hi, my name's Andrew at Autel Energy. I'm the brand manager here, based in the headquarters in Asia, and I've been here for just over 6 months now. So yeah, it's fantastic. So do you want to introduce yourself, guys?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm Dan Larson, based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, here in North America. Product and Solutions Manager with Autel Energy. And yeah, pleasure to meet you guys.
Sites. I'm Uroš Borovic, again with Autel Energy, just in Europe, based in Barcelona, Spain, and I'm more on the R&D side of this company, particularly more involved in the development of power modules deployed in our electric vehicle chargers.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, it's nice to have you all on the call today. So yeah, what we're going to do is the topic of today's webinar, as you've probably seen when you first came into the webinar, is smart charging solutions for efficient fleet management. This is targeted towards the fleet management side of business and the solutions that we have to the problems that we currently face. So the itinerary for the webinar, what we're going to discuss, we'll first talk a little bit about Autel overview, about how, our story as a company, a bit about us, our situation on the global market. We'll go through a market overview. What's the current market like for fleet management and fleet charging in general? About fleets as well, more specific details about fleets and the technology there. And then also the solutions to some of the problems that we have for the market in that particular area. And then we'll finish off with giving you some information about a Q&A and how to get in touch with us for the specific regions involved as well. So first, of course, a little bit about us, about Autel. So yeah, Autel, the company background, of course, we're founded in 2004. And yeah, Daniel, do you want to talk a bit more about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're proud to announce our 20-year anniversary. So yeah, Autel, as many of you may know, we started off in the automotive diagnostic space. We branched out into many other areas such as TPMS and ADAS products, and we become number one globally within the automotive diagnostic space. Now, about 3 years ago, we launched Autel Energy, and that is also growing very, very rapidly. And I think one of the unique things about our company that allows us to stay ahead of the curve is, our investment back into R&D. So about 60% of our employees globally are involved in R&D, and we put in larger investments back into R&D to make sure that we're always bringing the latest and greatest products to the market. And we've got 2,400 employees globally, so with very strategic locations, and we've got a really awesome team globally, I would say.
Mhm. And some of the fruits of the R&D team and the investment shows that we actually, year on year, since we started about 3 years ago, each year we've been bringing out new products yearly. We consistently bring out a product every year to meet different demands and different situations in the market for our customers. And we've got one coming out as well in 2024 that will be, hasn't been announced yet, but yeah, that's purely from our research and development team, constantly bringing out new products and new innovations for the market at the moment. And like you said, we're spreading around the globe as we'll cover now. So I'm from the UK originally, but I'm actually based in Asia at the moment in China. So that's where one of our headquarters is based. And as you can see in Asia specifically, looking at the map, got quite a lot of key places and key offices around Asia, in Hong Kong, in Japan, also in Singapore as well, the key locations, and in Australia. But you're also trying to talk a bit more about where you are in Europe.
Sure. So, as mentioned before, I'm in Barcelona in Spain, where we have our R&D center, and also there's another R&D center in The Hague, Netherlands. And the headquarters, let's say, of the European branch would be Munich, Germany, which is accompanied also by other offices in Venice, in Italy, in Stockholm, Sweden, and Paris in France, which are more focused on sales and local support with our clients in Europe. Basically, the idea of our global presence is to have on each continent offices that can support clients locally. So that's the one of the reasons why the office in Barcelona was opened, and was actually opened somewhere around 6 months ago, officially. So yeah.
And also, Daniel, with the US.
Absolutely. Yeah, so our U.S. headquarters is based out of Port Washington, New York, out on Long Island. It's kind of a dual purpose between diagnostics and Autel Energy as far as office space. We recently opened up our innovation lab over in Anaheim, California. It's going to service some warehousing for products on the West Coast, but then also primarily for interoperability testing with the R&D teams from automotive OEMs. And we're also doing a lot of OCPP testing with third-party software vendors as well. And then kind of our biggest announcement is the opening of our manufacturing plant in Greensboro, North Carolina. So it's a beautiful facility, very large, so tons of room for growth. And we'll be making US made products out of that facility. So yeah, and we, even within the United States, we have personnel located all over the place for our service team to be able to support our customers and drive on site for repairs and that type of thing as well.
Yes, again, like you said before, the Greensboro one is very new, isn't it? It's only been opened a few months, hasn't it? It's like a brand new research and development center there, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, we already have lots of inventory and production happening at the facility now.
So yeah, that's just an overview of where our presence is at the moment, and we're also looking to constantly expand that as well. We're looking at other places as well actively going forward. For example, as well, we didn't mention the ones in South America as well, as we've got a place in Mexico and also Brazil, which covers a lot of the South American region for the offices and for the customers there as well. So yeah, moving on to that. So we're looking at the market overview specifically. So how does the industry look like at the moment? So for fleet management and market overview, the market size is valued, or it was valued in 2002 at about 15.9 billion, just shy of 16 billion. And it was expected to reach, and it has raised up to 17.6 billion back in 2023. That was the most current figure done. Now, the expected is that by the year 2032, the industry is going to grow up to about 40.6 billion, which is about a compound annual growth rate of about 11% during the forecasted period. So between 2023 up to 2032, going to see huge growth, as you can see through the graphs here. And it's one of the industries that are seeing like still in its infancy. We're still growing it, and it's still going to be a big long-term project, but it's going to see a lot of projected growth going forward as well. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, and as far as EV fleets, the global fleet market is it's a over $26 billion market within 2022, and that's only expected to continue increasing. And many of those fleets are already transitioning to EV. Some are just looking into it now. But it's kind of the numbers are out there as far as the cost savings for fleets. So it really is becoming a awesome feature for them to save costs. Road freight demand is expected to rise 46% within the next 20 years. So that's a lot of those fleets are going to need to transition to EV as well. And then with the US and Europe combined, EV sales reached 36%. And by 2026, EV bus sales will be about 24% of the bus market as well. So, and as far as passenger cars, the numbers for 2023 are now in, and within the US at least, was 12% of vehicle sales were EVs. So, as a lot of the grants and incentives and, charging infrastructure is installed throughout North America, those numbers are just going to continue increasing as well.
Yep. And how does the fleet management market trends look, Euros?
Expanding a bit on what Danny said, the fleet management trends would be going in similar directions. So there's a definitely growing demand for the efficient transportation, effectively meaning that the advanced fleet management technology is necessary for efficient fleet operations. And the real-time tracking of vehicles, it becomes increasingly interesting and actually necessary for the correct operation. Taking into account the penetration of 5G technology into our environments and also a bit of artificial intelligence, all of those things enable us to be at the forefront of this in this field and to be competitive in the market and provide some sufficient and efficient solutions to our final customers.
Okay, so with that being said, let's talk a little bit about the different categories that utilize fleet and what the categories are for our purposes for that. So we've got the taxi fleet. It usually follows about 4 different categories usually. The first one will be the normal taxi fleets, which usually range between 48 kilowatts per hour requirements up to about 100 kilowatts per hour. Then you've got the urban logistic fleets as well, which can be mostly, again, range from the bottom end of about 48 kilowatts per hour requirements up to just over like 110 kilowatts per hour. Then you have a pretty big step up now when it gets to the bigger vehicles, such as buses and school buses in particular, which have its own unique, which has its own unique little quirks about it. But for this industry or for this particular segment, it's mostly between 200 kilowatts per hour demand up to about 500 kilowatts per hour demand. And then finally, you got the big heavy duty transport fleets with big heavy shipments. And this could be from mostly ranging from 200 kilowatts per hour right up until the modern vehicles that could go up to requiring about 800 kilowatts per hour. There's quite a big range of requirements there. We'll go on to the solutions for each in particular category here. So I'll cover the taxi at the moment because the operation scenarios for the taxi fleets in particular is that one of the things is they have no fixed routes at all. So as you can imagine, with taxi drivers, they can get customers from anywhere, and there's no planned set route for them. They can be, well, it's very random where the customers can be picked up and then where the end destination is. So in that, because of the high degree of randomness and the flexibility of the routes, the urban taxis operate without fixed business points or routes, and they're better suited to charging services that are more like public charging operators as well. Also, as you can imagine with taxis, there's a very diverse vehicle models. The drivers themselves may be using very different types of vehicles to one another. So different taxi companies will use various models, and even within the same city may employ different models adhering to different charging standards. So each car might be slightly different, might have different compatibility requirements, different charging demands themselves. So there has to be a degree of flexibility there in that regard. We also have like rapid recharging during operation as well. So each electric vehicle requires 1 to 3 charges during the day during operations, necessitating quick recharging to support its regular service. Because of course, if you're a taxi driver, you want to be minimizing downtime as much as possible. You want to be getting into the charging, getting it done fast, and it also needs to be spread out quite a lot. So you don't want to be sitting there for long periods of time, because the longer you sat there charging, the less money you're potentially making. So that's one thing that has to be solved in that regard. And also focus on real-time charging information as well, because taxi drivers are highly price sensitive, of course, because if your charging bills are through the roof, it's going to cut into your profits as a taxi driver and as a company, as well as a management company for fleets. So these are all considerations that you have to have when it comes to taxi fleets. So the charging solution for taxis in general, Euros, do you want to talk a bit about the products that are tailored for the taxi fleets?
Would be maxi charger AC read, around 10 kilowatts, close to 10 kilowatts, 50 amps. Then you would have a maxi charger DC fast in any solution from 60 to over 120, all the way up to 180 kilowatts. And then the DC high power, which would be more if your infrastructure is capable of delivering 320 and 640 kilowatts. So basically, the first solution, Maxi Charger AC Elite, will be more suitable for or at-home applications, or even at smaller parking lots, whereby you can be charging over the night the taxi, and you would be able to by that way reducing the impact on the battery, because you're prolonging the charging time, reducing the power, meaning that you're saving your battery life. However, during the daytime, when you actually are driving around, as already Andy mentioned, it's highly unprofitable for the driver to sit and charge for a couple of hours. So he will need some higher power solutions, like the 60 or 120 kilowatts from Maxi Charger DC Fast. In that case, you could charge much faster and then be back on the road as quickly as possible. Whereby in the case of 320 or 640 kilowatts, so that would be Maxi Charger DC high power, those ones, I would see them more employed on the highways, maybe, where you're taking some longer routes, and there you could have availability of higher power. And in those situations, it's highly probable that you would really want to minimize time, and that's the charging time, and that's actually what these chargers can provide. So basically, we have different solutions for different use scenarios, and we are quite confident that we can cover this use case quite efficiently.
Yeah, because like we mentioned before, like with taxis in particular, the unpredictability of what they're going to need and the different routes means that you can go from anything. Like you said, if you're not in any urgent demand to charge, like right now, you can just park it overnight. Then the Elite is fantastic. It's very cost efficient. It's very small. The use case is very broad. The places that these can be installed are also very broad, which means that's useful for that situation. But if you need like power on demand fairly quickly, the DC fast is good, and especially the high power is for really fast charging for that. Like I said, with the DC high power, it can charge up to 250 miles within 10 minutes of charging, which is exactly what maybe a taxi driver will need if they say they're doing like airport runs, where they'll go from one place to another on big long journeys. They want, maybe they're running low, they need something quick, fast, charge, 10 minutes, and off they go again. So yeah, like you said, it's a lot more broad solutions for the taxi fleets in particular. So from there, I know you know a bit more about the bus and the school buses, don't you, Daniel? So do you want to go into this particular segment a bit more?
Yeah, so the school bus industry is certainly unique, and I think we have a lot of really good solutions for it. School buses, obviously, their routes are typically fixed. In the morning they'll go out there for their initial route, and then they come back to the depot, and typically they're going to need to charge at a faster rate before they go out for the afternoon schedule as well. And then after they're back from there, then usually they're sitting overnight, so they don't need to charge as quickly. So we can integrate with the telematic systems on the buses as well. And so we can actually know the state of charge prior to the bus getting back from its route. So we'll know how many kilowatts need to be added to that battery upon it returning back to the depot. We can know exactly what time it's going to be dispatched again, and so we'll know exactly how quickly that battery needs to charge so that it's fully charged by the time it goes out for its next route. So through our CSMS and fleet management features, it makes it really, really easy to configure all of that as an operator, and it's really going to lead to really efficient management of the school bus fleets.
And based on that requirement and that use of the scenario, the operating scenario on that, what kind of products are best suited in your experience for that kind of thing?
Sure. Well, most of our DC products are really applicable to that space. So, for example, the DC Compact, the really nice thing about that, we have the pedestal mounted or wall mounted versions available. which if there's, if all the buses are going to be parked, like let's say outside in a row, you can put multiple of those products in a line, and then the buses plug in and charge. And these will do 40 kilowatts to one vehicle, or you can split it 20 and 20 between both ports. So depending on the size of the battery within the bus, we can help source how many chargers and which charger product is ideal. But with our DC Compact, we also have a mobile version, which, think of the school bus warehouse where maybe it's indoors and, these are really big buses. So it's an inconvenience to have to jockey them around to one charger that's fixed in a certain location. So with the mobile version, you can put in multiple three-phase outlets and you can actually wheel the charger over to the buses and charge the buses wherever they're sitting. So that's also a really nice solution for really school buses and really any medium heavy duty vehicles in the market.
Mm. Yeah, I can see why that would be useful, especially for such large vehicles like school buses as well. It'd be much easier to have the trolley system to where you can bring the charger to the vehicle rather than having to try and navigate the vehicle to the set specific charging points. So yeah, I can understand why that would be more useful in that case for the school bus scenario in particular. And
Yeah, our DC fast as well. That's a really nice modular solution. So you can go anywhere from 60 kilowatts all the way up to 240 kilowatts. So we can help source depending on the battery side of the vehicle and how many vehicles are within the fleet. Sometimes, especially if it's like maybe a really high use bus where it's doing multiple routes, maybe to multiple different schools, and sometimes doing field trips or evening programs as well. You might need to really charge those vehicles more frequently and much faster. So our all-in-one DC fast unit is really applicable to those scenarios. And then once you get into our DC high power, that's especially for the city buses that we have a lot of interest in this product from city bus fleets, and then also school buses too, where they just need really large batteries and they need to charge them up as quickly as possible.
Mm. Yeah, of course, because for like city buses, unlike school buses, they tend to have very small windows, usually to where they're in use, and then a lot of times they have a lot of downtime for charging. I think for city buses, because they're running on the clock all the time at a very specific rate, they probably would make more use of the DC high power, right, where they can kind of go 10 minutes of a quick boost to fill them up, and they can continue on the journey again rather than having too much downtime. Where when they're parked in the depot overnight, maybe they can have the other solutions are more tailored to that kind of thing as well. So
absolutely.
Going from there, the operating scenario for the urban logistics fleet as well. So urban logistic fleets, do you want to talk a bit about that, Euros?
Similarly to the buses, urban logistics operations have typically relatively fixed operating points and navigation centers. So their operational range is up to 100 kilometers around that center. So what can be a bit tricky, which was also tricky with the taxis as well, is a wide variety of actual let's say trucks that are being used here for the logistic purposes. That means that our chargers have to be compatible with all of those possible solutions, different voltage types, different batteries, etc. What they also typically would require is the rapid daytime charging, and that means when they're outside in the field, they have to be able to charge relatively quickly, which is quite similar to the case of the taxis as well, but not applicable to the buses, as mentioned before by them. And during night, the similar strategy as used for the taxis can be employed, slower overnight charging, so that you can optimize battery life. Again, if you charge at lower speeds, lower powers, actually, you prolong battery life, and thus will be extending the lifetime of your investment into your electric fleet of urban logistic trucks. And lastly, what is interesting for this particular applications is the unified vehicle dispatch. So typically, it can happen as logistic fleets lack centralized vehicle dispatch and as well as battery range monitoring. So dispatching and charging should be coordinated, and our solution can actually help you with that respect. So yeah, and going to the possible power solutions from our side, we can see on the next slide. So as it's quite similar with the buses, we can use our maxi charger DC compact of 40 kilowatts, for example, for the slower overnight charging or relatively fast charging during the day. If that speed is not fast enough, we have maxi charger DC fast that again go from 60 all the way to 240 kilowatts. And for the very, very fast chargings, again, the maxi charger DC high power rated at 320 up to 640 kilowatts is also available. Again, depends on the client, depends on what they have available. We have a wide variety of solutions ready to be employed in your application. And also what's interesting, dual gun applications where you can charge two vehicles and half of the power each. For example, if you have the 180 kilowatt DC fast, you can charge 90 kilowatts one truck and 90 kilowatts the other. So all of those things offer flexibility from our side, from the hardware perspective, and also from the software perspective. We can also monitor the consumption of the grid, for example, to optimize the costs of the charging, because for sure, I mean, the electricity bills probably, I mean, Danny can talk more from the US perspective. They can be quite expensive at peak times. So all of those things can be taken into account and help our end users, our clients, to have the most efficient, most cost-effective solution overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And one last scenario that we need to cover as well is the last one, which is the heavy duty transport fleet as well, which to some extent kind of is the opposite to what the taxi fleets are. Because, so for example, the fixed operation routes, so unlike taxis, which is very random, the heavy duty transportation fleets have a very fixed operation route. The often relatively fixed, and the ranges are already predetermined a lot of the time. It tends to be a fixed journey, and the charging stations are frequently specialized as well. They have, compared to other ones, they have a very high battery capacity because of the size and scale and the kind of weight that they're carrying as well. These trucks, they need a bigger battery capacity. So the battery capacity of the heavy duty trucks mostly falls within the range of about 300 kilowatts per hour, up to maybe, well, it says 500 here, but the newer ones can be up to 800 kilowatts per hour or higher. So there's a very big range and a much more high power demand for the heavy duty transportation fleets as well. Now, to achieve better charging results, they're generally equipped with high power and efficient charging equipment too. So the fast charging needs, some heavy duty trucks need to operate 24 hours a day, leading to high frequency charging. So because, especially on long haul delivery of goods around, especially international driving, there's going to be very long hauls of driving. So they don't really have enough time to stop and be idle for too long. Everything's planned out. The route is set. So that's where they need faster charging to keep up with that demand for the efficiency purposes. And a unified vehicle dispatch as well. So some heavy duty trucks, fleets employ centralized vehicle dispatch and a management to convey management, which they can monitor things like battery ranges. They can schedule charging through dispatch operations as well. So the kind of products that we have that suit that is, for example, the DC Fast for 240 kilowatts. This is a bit more of a flexible charger as well. The DC Fast can cater to the demands where, especially when the trucks are idle at the end destination, it's useful for that kind of thing as well. But the high power in particular, the Max Charge DC high power, is fantastic for very quick, short bursts of topping up as they're on the journey, when they're on the go, because they always need to be on the move. These plug it in for 10 minutes, get a big, heavy, like 250 miles put onto the battery within 10 minutes, and off they go. They can still keep going. And yeah, so we've also got the MCS as well, which is a product that we've not launched yet. We'll be sharing more information on that later in the year, but that is also much more tailored towards the heavy duty transportation fleet. So that's more tailored to that specific market, but that'll be released a bit more information will be given about that later. So does anyone have anything to add to the heavy duty transport fleet that I mentioned?
Yeah, the DC high power is really an optimal product for the long haul fleets, for example, because it's such a large investment in the vehicles for those fleets, and anytime that the vehicle is not on the road, it's not making money for the fleet operator. So especially with the liquid cooled cables and the up to 640 kilowatts output. It's really an ideal solution to get those vehicles charged as quickly as possible and reliably, and really ready for heavy use with that product as well. So keep the vehicles on the road and keep them making money.
Yeah, exactly. So from that, some of the main problems we actually covered a couple of the issues earlier, just slightly. But we'll go into a bit more detail here about the challenges for heavy-duty transportation fleet in general, such as especially for grid limitations. So there's potential limitations with the grid, especially as the industry starts to increase, like we mentioned very early about the growth. Inevitably, as the demand increases, if infrastructure doesn't keep up with it, and if it's not managed properly, that can put a lot of strain and a lot of stress on the grid if it's not thought about and managed properly. And we've also got potential issues that a lot of the fleet management systems have. We're trying to manage so many different fleets and different systems that integrate it all, trying to manage the cost of the operation, the charging routes, the frequency of going from point A to point B, how many times you're going to need to charge, the uptime of the charging versus what the types of charging you're going to need. There's a lot of thought process that has to go into fleet management, especially for EV. And these can be bottlenecks for sure for a lot of businesses if you don't manage this correctly. So that is a big problem. So is anyone got anything else to share about those two topics?
With side limitations, as you mentioned, basically nowadays, it would be more of a bottleneck, the grid, than the actual chargers, because you can relatively fast roll out the chargers. You can buy them, install them, and that's it. But from the perspective of the grid, that's, I would say, the slowest developing part of the infrastructure, because it's big, it's expensive, and it's quite logistically difficult to manage. So yeah, that's something that has to be taken into account when thinking on the heavy duty transportation fleets. Our customers need to think of that. But in any case, from our side, you will see very shortly, we have a video prepared that explains this in more detail, that we would think on how to support our final client with that respect. For example, you can limit the actual powers available in your chargers to accommodate the grid supply that you have. That's from my side for the grid limitations.
Yeah, exactly. Because some ways around grid limitations as well, it's very much software solutions. So if you have really intelligent software that can operate things more efficiently, so the software can do a lot of the heavy lifting on making things run more smoothly, on make calculations based on lots of different data points that normally if you just left the charges to it could cause a lot of problems with the grid. So actually we can move on to, got a quick video to share that we're going to show you about smart power distributions and how we actually try and solve this problem using software as well. So I'll share the video with you now.
Powerful and intelligent is what makes this workhorse ideal for the demanding requirements of fleets. Our sophisticated module scheduling and smart power distribution exponentially enhances power efficiency, resulting in marked savings and elevated station performance, establishing a reliable and robust ecosystem for fleet functionalities.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, our dynamic load balancing features are really solving a lot of those issues within the industry. So, especially in North America, one pretty common scenario is that, a fleet or a business might be wanting to install, a whole bank of, let's say, fast chargers or even our high power chargers. Um, and unfortunately, there's a lot of
Based on that,
backlogs and
so we've
shortages
got anything
with
to
transformer
add
upgrades
about
on
what
the
we've just
utility
seen then?
side. So, they might hear from the utility that, okay, today we can supply you with 300 kilowatts total. We can upgrade you to 500, 800 kilowatts, capacity, 6 months or a year from now once we get transformers in stock. So that's a pretty common bottleneck that a lot of companies and fleets are facing right now. So, with our load balancing and smart charging options, what that enables operators to do is set the site limitations. So, if you have a whole bank of chargers, you can set it so that it's going to balance that 300 kilowatts amongst all of those chargers. So that way you can plug in more vehicles and it's going to balance that power out. And you can also set like VIP and priority vehicles too. So with the integration of telematics and other systems as well, you can schedule. So maybe there's one vehicle that's really high priority. It's got to leave in the next hour. And it's got a longer route to run than some of the other vehicles. So you can actually prioritize it so that that vehicle is going to get charged first before the others are going to get fully charged. So it's going to enable you as a fleet to make sure that your fleet operations from the most critical vehicles all the way down to the backup vehicles are staying fully charged, even if there's power limitations to the site.
So, so to do all the things you've just mentioned, then how is it that the end user actually engages with that, and how is it that the company itself can manage that system in general?
It's very quick and easy to set up through our cloud software. So basically, for each site, you can create multiple different smart charging profiles, even within one site, and that's something that's unique to our software platform. Some other platforms you can create a load balancing group for a total site, but you can't have multiple profiles within one site. So, for example, you could have two chargers at one location and maybe those are your backup chargers. So they're only going to receive power when all the other vehicles are fully charged, for example. And then maybe you've got, four fast chargers that are your top priority chargers. And so you can actually schedule it and you can also integrate it per vehicle too. So, like I mentioned before, if there's one really important vehicle that, it's maybe your largest bus and it also has the longest route to run. Whenever that one plugs in, it's going to receive maximum power or 75% power, whatever you configure through the software. And that way, it's going to be fully charged by the time it needs to go on its next route before the others are, going to receive their full charge. So we have a lot of different priority schemes within the software, so you can set it up and manage it however you'd like as a fleet operator.
Yeah, we'll actually go over that as well in a minute. We've got a slide based on the CSMS as well. So the fleet charging solutions as well, just like we're mentioning with the software, just an overview of what the purpose of that is and what it actually does for the fleet charging solution is, obviously it optimizes the charging processes and reduces costs. So the goal really is for you to be able to control the time and the rate of charging. So the actual user can control the rate of charging for the vehicles and also the time as well. Also, delay the charging time during peak demand periods to avoid higher fees. I think Euros mentioned this earlier in the webinar about if you're charging in off-peak time versus on-peak time, people might not really think about it on a daily basis. But if you're a company who's operating these things week in, week out, monthly, and over a year span, if you take somebody who's just charging in peak times versus someone who's charging in off-peak time, the cost disparity is going to be pretty huge, isn't it? Especially, I think, in America as well, the cost difference between off-peak and on-peak can be quite big, can't it?
It varies per region within the U.S., but yeah, some of the regions where the grid is taxed the most, peak use rates are insanely high. So, that's another really big advantage of our software is that, think of the school bus scenario where maybe the bus is done with its route at, let's say, 4 p.m. So the driver comes back, they plug it in. Well, especially on the West Coast, peak use rates start at 5 p.m. So 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., that's when most people are done with their work shift, or they're getting back home, the AC is on, they're cooking, all the lights are on in the house. So that's when there's the most tax on the grid from, the residential side. And so as a fleet operator, what you can set up through our software is, they plug in at 4 p.m. and maybe it's going to be charging at 60 kilowatts. As soon as you can configure the time window. So let's say right at 5 p.m., if that's when peak rates set in, you can reduce that charge current all the way down to I think it's 1.6 kilowatts as the minimum. Because if you stop a session altogether per OCA standards, you have to physically unplug the connector and plug it back in to start a new session. And I would say as a fleet, if your vehicles are overnight in a warehouse, you don't want somebody to have to unplug and plug back in. So our solution for that is to just reduce that charge all the way down to the bare minimum of 1.6 kilowatts. Then it's going to stay at that rate until, whenever you configure. So let's say 9 p.m. That's when peak rates are done. And now it's going to automatically go right back up to that 60 kilowatts. And, with the telematics integration too, you can know, the battery state of charge and how many kilowatts need to be added to that battery so that it's fully charged by the time it needs to be dispatched on its next route at, let's say 6 a.m. the next morning. So we're going to be able to balance that out and make sure that all vehicles are fully charged by the time they need to go on the route, and while also reducing, pretty much eliminating peak use rates, and also just reducing overall energy costs for the fleet.
Mm. And some like categories, for example, like the taxis, may not always be able to make use of off-peak time, but because of maybe the nature of their work schedule themselves or the situation. But if they can make use of it, it's always better to make use of the off-peak time, just because it does, like you said, save a lot more money in the long run. And there's some solutions where we can actually prioritize that, and it should be prioritized to charge in off-peak time, and it can be controlled through the system. Also, with that being said as well, we want to enable cost-effective performance monitoring as well and management. So monitoring your electricity consumption, tracking that kind of data as well, how much your vehicles are consuming, what the uptime is like, the battery health as well, with an integrated third generation telematics system as well. Design for optimal route planning and charging scheduling. So this is especially useful as well for the heavy duty vehicle, where you can design optimal routes for your vehicles based on where the public transportation is actually located, what the optimal route is, and also the charging schedule as well for the fleet. Built-in diagnostics to help minimize any risks and any warnings as well, any warning signals that can also be customized as well. And of course, like any system, you want it to be compatible with your existing systems that you've got into place, because you don't want to have a huge learning curve trying to bring new systems in that don't actually integrate well with what you've already got. So it has to be a pretty open platform that can integrate many customizable features in with it. So anyone have anything to add to that?
Yeah, and I think our software dashboard is really unique in that it's customizable for our users too. So, because every fleet operates a little bit differently. Most fleets, they don't necessarily resell the electricity; they're just using it for internal use. But we have other fleets that, maybe they at certain times of the day, it's for internal use only, but then maybe, during the daytime, when all their vehicles are out on their shift, maybe they want to open it up to the public and generate a little bit of revenue there. So you can create multiple different driver groups and authorization abilities for different groups to, collect revenue when your fleet's out driving for the day, that type of thing too. So we have a lot of really unique features there. And then, exporting of data, discounted pricing rules. I mean, you name it, we've got a lot of really unique features within our software platform. So I think it's, and especially with the custom integrations of third-party telematics, that's another really unique feature of our platform.
Mm. Well, actually, going into a bit more detail about the platform itself, specifically like the CSMS that you were mentioning, especially with the dashboard as well, like the Autel fleet charging solution, it supports integration with the fleet telematics and the scheduling systems. So it'll take data from many different data points, and also it'll use it to intelligently calculate and match the charging strategies that are best needed for your fleet operations. So this is designed to reduce the cost of charging, improve operational efficiencies. And of course, as well, one thing that people may not realize that it also helps extend the life of the vehicle's batteries by helping them more optimally charge as well. And you can see all the different integrations the dashboard has on the infographic there. Anyone got anything to add to that one?
Yeah, so I mean, as the operator of a EV fleet, for example, there's a lot that you can customize, especially the alerts. So you can set custom alerts regarding, once a certain vehicle's battery state of charge reaches, 95%, for example, you can set an alert. So then now you know that, okay, that one has enough charge to be able to go run its route for the day. And yeah, so many different smart charging profiles, just depending on the use case. So whether it be, fully balanced load to all the vehicles plugged in, if it's VIP charging, we have a lot of different options there. And then, yeah, just the whole analytics options through our dashboard too. So we offer a lot of features there, and driver groups too. So it's really, really a highly capable platform.
So the CSMS features EV fleet charge and scheduling, like we mentioned before. The Autel Charge Cloud optimizes charging based on schedules like vehicle timing, SOC, reduces dwell periods as well because you don't want too much downtime on your vehicles. So this tries to reduce that as much as possible. It ensures punctual departures and arrivals to allow management as well. Like I think you're able to schedule and customize the warning signals, aren't you? Where you can, if a car doesn't get back to its charging post and it's not back to where it should be on time, you can set a custom warning that will let you aware that the car isn't back on time properly, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, as a fleet, the last thing that you want is for one of your vehicles to not be charged enough to be able to operate its full route once it's dispatched. So you can set custom alerts. So maybe, this vehicle needs to be plugged in by this time in order to be fully charged from this charger to be able to go on its next route. And if it doesn't get plugged back in by that time, you can set a customizable alert through the platform too. You can do live text messages, live emails to whoever the operator is for that fleet. So they'll know in real time. And then that way they can figure out, okay, maybe the driver forgot to plug that bus in after they got back to the depot. Maybe it's still en route because there was, it ran into some traffic, whatever the case is. But you can constantly adjust, the operations for your fleet through that platform. And also, with the ISO 15118, not only from the telematics on the vehicles, you can know where the vehicle is and integrate that with our dashboard. But then as soon as the vehicle plugs into our charger, it's going to be able to identify that vehicle directly through the charger and read the live state of charge from that battery and then tailor the charging curve to that vehicle. So that it knows the next route for the next day, and it'll make sure that it's fully charged in time for dispatch on its route, the following day.
Yeah, I mean, I guess especially with the customizable alerts and things, I guess there's a huge applicability of tons of different ways that you can customize things to really make you more dialed into what's going on with your fleet. Any small potential things that could become a problem, you can set alerts for it that kind of allows you to have a more accurate view of what's going on across your whole fleet, right?
Yeah, and I think that's really, we've been able to leverage a lot of our experience within just automotive technology in general. Autel is a company, our full background is in automotive diagnostics, and so dealing with vehicle data and big data in general, that and software capabilities, that's one of our big strong points. And so we're constantly adding new features to the cloud, making it, better and more efficient for fleet use. So, it's amazing to see where the platform is already, and I think it's already more capable than any other platform out there. But then also on top of that, every single month we're issuing new features and new updates that just add more and more functionality to the platform.
Exactly. So, well, that kind of brings us close to the end now. We've had a full overview of the situation at the moment. So, if you do want to get into contact with us, if you do want to give us any questions based on the webinar or based on anything at all, do you want to share with you, especially if you're from the US watching this and you want to get in touch with the US department in general for answering any of these questions? Daniel, do you want to tell them where they can go?
Absolutely. Yeah. They can visit www.autelenergy.us. On that website, we've got, all of our products listed. Also some of the information regarding our software capabilities as well. And then there's a submission form if you're looking for anything related to our products, sourcing the correct products for your fleet, anything like that. You can submit a form through there, and we'll get in contact and help you out.
Mm. And as well, Euros, if anyone from Europe is watching today, where can they go to contact the European departments for more information?
Similar, autelenergy.eu, and there on our webpage, again, we have all the charters as Danik has mentioned, and you can contact us there. There's a contact form. You submit your details, your company name, and you can contact department to see relevant for your specific case.
Yeah, perfect. So for you who's watching live, have a look in the comment sections in this webinar, and I will post the links in there as well for you to follow, and you can go and ask any questions you want to whichever actual region is relevant to you. We'll post both links to the regions in the comments below. So, well, thanks a lot for watching today. And yeah, it's been a pleasure having you both here representing each of your regions. So yeah, anything you want to say to sign off on?
Thanks for having us, Andrew. Yeah, and I always love explaining our fleet software solutions to our customers because I think it's really solving a lot of problems for fleets and just issues within the industry in general. So yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
From my side, thank you for having us, and it's always interesting to be a part of this, let's say, quote unquote revolution. It's challenging and it's quite, let's say, empowering to be part of the R&D activities related to the EV charging industry. So hope that you learned something, hope that you found something interesting, and hopefully, we can collaborate sometimes in the future. We will be definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, again, like I said, I want to thank you both for coming on to the webinar to share your expertise as well today. And thanks for you all for watching as well. And hopefully we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.